Howdy.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Great. I got my period this morning, which
Nice.
was a relief. And I was in like deep luteal the last few days. So I feel like last night I had like for me, it's always the day before I get my period is like the pinnacle of lowness. Once I get my period, I'm like, energy already is like back, even if I'm bleeding. And yeah.
I was just gonna say that that's what you're like. You're like, as soon as it
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
it's go time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, recently I've been having more of that. The first day I was okay, second day I was fine, and then it's funny, like third day I get tired again. It's
Mm,
almost like this shift, and then today I'm like pure manic energy, day 5, where I get like I said to my friend earlier, I was like, I am manic today. I get like this, those moments when I get so productive, where I get so much
yeah.
done and I burn out like straight away
Yeah.
afterwards. It's like that. And I had to like, I stood in the mirror with myself before and I was like, slow down. You need to stop this because otherwise you're not going to have any energy. It's like all my energy comes for the month ahead. And I'm
Yeah.
like, let me quickly use it. And
Yeah.
then I burn out.
Yeah. How has it been landing back in Bali after, I mean, it's been a month, right?
Yeah. It's honestly been so nice. And it's been nice to feel nice about it because
Mm-hmm.
when I left, for context, I went back to England for a couple of weeks and then I went to Montenegro with my mum and my sister. And before I left, I was feeling really like sick and tired of being here, really like secluded, just really uninspired. I was going through a bit of a phase where like I really wasn't resonating with anything I was sharing, which I've had before. So it was nice to recognize that and not like tear myself apart this time and just like panic pivot. But I was just feeling like ugh, about everything. And so I left, and like the first couple of weeks of being home, I was really like, I don't want to come back. I don't want to come back. Oh no, I really don't want to go back. And then as I started to like, I would say around week 3, that was when I was like, I actually am really craving going home. And I don't necessarily think it was Bali. I think it's more like my routine and just my creative channel started to open up again. And I was like, I'm ready to work. I want to serve again. I want to create again. And I just want to like be in my bubble. And I mean, me quad left, moving like that, sleeping in like an unknown bed.
Yeah.
Multiple times I was sleeping like in different friends' places, different plans
Yeah.
every day, really going with the flow, which is fine
Yeah.
for me, but to an extent. And then I like start to really like, I can't focus on anything. And so then I get frustrated that I can't focus and I feel like I'm not doing my work properly and stuff. So just coming home and like having my diet plan, like my meal plans and my workflow has just been so nice.
Yeah. I can imagine. And that was the first time when was the last time you've been away for that long?
I think we did a month-ish away when we went to South Africa. So we went to
Right.
Zimbabwe. But again, that was
Yeah.
quite it's always
Yeah.
high paced on a holiday. And I noticed my body gets inflamed and everything. It's just like, no, like we don't do this well. And it's funny because as I was leaving, I always say to Ben, when I get in these stages, I'm like, I need to travel more. This is the kind of person I am, and blah, blah, blah. And then when it comes to it, I'm like, actually, no, I love the mundane. I
Yeah.
need these like refreshing little bursts of newness, but
Yeah.
I love the mundane.
Yeah. Isn't it so interesting how this is happening? This theme is happening across like all the relationships that we have. And if you look at like the friend group that we've kind of developed in Bali, it's all been these people who have established themselves through this travel lifestyle, through this nomad freedom, sort of pursuing their own path, and it got us all in Bali, which is where most of us met. And every single one of us is pretty much on that transition through Saturn Return or
Yeah.
right out of the end of Saturn Return. And it's almost like a flip switches. And everyone's kind of being forced to look at that identity and say like, I don't think this is really serving me anymore, and being called to settle and to kind of like have roots. And for some people, that looks like staying in Bali. For a lot of people, it looks like leaving Bali. But it's just very interesting. And it just echoes that sentiment of how we become so much more sensitive to our environment after our Saturn return.
Oh my God, absolutely. And Ben said something to me and it really triggered me at first, obviously. It's classic line two, manifester. And then I was like, you're so right. He was like, okay, I'm going to say this. And I know that you're not going to take it at first, but like, just listen. And he was like, I think you're going through a bit of a midlife crisis. And I was like, that's not true. Like, I'm not in midlife. He's like, no, but you are. And it's like you're in the middle of your life. And I think what's happening, and he was like, I'm saying it because it happened with me. And he brought in the like 6-line story. And he was like, you know, you've identified with yourself as a certain type of person up until this point. And I think your desires are changing and I think your values are shifting. And I don't think you know what to do with that. And I think you're not fun anymore if you start to enjoy the more simpler things in life and you don't like what you used to, or you don't connect with the people that you used to in the same way. And I'm just seeing it looking in, and like, there's nothing wrong with that, B. You're just changing. And I was like, oh, it was like triggering, but at the same time, it was like a little stroke, you know?
Yeah.
And it's true. It really is. Like, I'm a completely different person, and I saw this poem the other day that this woman had shared, and it was like mid the 30 something, it was called. And it was like, you know, it's okay to like different things. I think it's the one season that you start to actually become you and like you really feel like you. And it's hard. And I guess this is the topic we're going to go into, where the conditioning, it runs so deep. Like, literally up until maybe the last couple of years, I thought I was deconditioning, and I probably was in elements, but not to the point where I feel right now, where I'm like, no, I really know what I like and what I don't. And I fought what I like and I don't. Because the perception I have of myself, and also the perception other people have of me, isn't that. So then, like, who am I then? You know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And again, how beautiful that you have a partner who can be reflecting these things back to you in such a beautiful and gentle way. Again, whether you take it gently or not is up to you, but it's really special.
Yeah, it is.
And
And
also to have someone by your side who's not afraid of you changing,
yeah,
who's not attached also to the old identities of you. Like he loves you, the you that sometimes you can't even reach.
yeah, it's so true. It really is. And actually, that's been what's been coming up a lot too whilst I've been home, not home, back here. Like, just the respect and gratitude I have for him. Honestly, I'm just like, wow, you truly, like, I've never, like, the unconditional love that I now cannot even doubt. Like, there's just so much respect and so much like acceptance. And like you said, it's every facet of me. And even now, he's like, okay, so now you're in follicular and like you're gonna need this. I'm like, whoa, this man has just like really, really, really got to know me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had an experience so last night. So now that I've launched my relationship on the podcast last week, I had a situation last night where, like I said, I was last day of my luteal period arrived today, and last night I was just Tim had to go to the gym to teach a class, and the moment he left, it was like I just sank as if like again the storm clouds kind of like hovered into this fog, and I just felt empty and not due to anything. Well, you know how what I love about like the female hormonal cycle is like your hormones do shift. And yes, you do then sort of have this chemical reaction where you go into like a lower state, but it's not just like, oh, I'm in luteal. I feel like that shift allows for certain things that have been mulling around that we've maybe been avoiding or not fully like sitting with. it kind of like drops you hard into it, where it's like you're knocked out, you're feeling feels, and what has to come up kind of comes up. So there's been certain things that I've been having like resistance within me around for weeks, maybe, but it's just little things. And as I've also shared before on the podcast, I think it was on my solo episode, a big realization I've had as I continue to decondition and strip away is like, my mind is so fucking strong. And I can override literally any sensation I'm having, for better or for worse. And I've just been like realizing so many ways in which it's like I've betrayed my body because my mind has just been like, okay, but this is the easy way forward, or this is like clean and simple, and we don't need to freak out about things, or whatever the narrative might be. But anyways, there was a lot of just kind of like lingering things that all of a sudden like sank down last night, and I just felt so low. And Tim is a mental projector, so he's super open, neck down.
You both have defined.
And yeah,
Oof.
yeah. And as we were going to sleep last night, he could just like look at me and just see I was just like done. And this is what I see as the absolute gift of someone with an undefined solar plexus that I think we so rarely see because so many people are still so stuck in their not self, avoiding confrontation and avoiding emotional situations. But the way he just like held me and saw me, and I just basically for 20 minutes just like leaked tears out of my eyes, didn't say a word, and he just like was through his undefined throat just like spouting things where I'm like, where is he's saying what's inside of me right now that I don't even know is inside of me because I'm in my wave. My wave is unconscious, therefore I can't really access what's happening until it's over. And basically just giving me like an energetic massage as I just like emotionally processed something. And at no point did he take it on as like, this is, I did something wrong, or like make it about him, which is again what often happens with the undefined solar plexus, right? It's like us emotional beings, we're just emitting a wave, and that wave is that wave, and it's going to be happening regardless. And then for those that are open, often absorb it, amplify it. Anytime you amplify something, you have the potential for basically like a distortion. It's like a game of telephone, you know, and if something gets passed through, it kind of like changes its message as it gets passed along. And if undefined emotional people kind of get stuck in that amplification and then they make it about them, and it's, oh, what did I do wrong? Okay, I'm just going to stay out of it because I don't want to rock the boat. Or the other way that they can avoid confrontation is actually by trying to force confrontation. What's wrong? Let's talk about it. What happened? What did I do? Which is actually a form of confrontation because the wave is uncomfortable, so you're trying to force the wave. When the reality is like, I think for both emotional people and unemotional people, the process is waiting out the wave. No matter what, everyone has to experience emotional energy, and it's uncomfortable, and it's about our relationship with that. And for us, it's like accepting our own emotional process. And for the undefined people, it's about just like letting it move and like witness it, observe it, take it in, but don't freak out about it. Also get comfortable with the discomfort of it. But anyways, it was like just magical to witness and be on the receiving end of that, because it also showed me just how uncomfortable I am being witnessed in my emotional wave. Like I've spent years now getting comfortable with my own wave. Like, okay, now I can finally feel my feels and I can be emotional, but you know, in my own little cave, right? When there's no one watching me, right? But the vulnerability that is introduced to be like seen in that is a whole nother ball game. And it was nice to have that kind of like reflected to me and have that space of just like someone holding space in the truest and literal sense of the term.
That's amazing. Yeah. And even witnessing like that gift play out, because like you said, the open solar plexus is such a gift when it comes from an equally, aware person. And that goes both ways. Unaware, defined solar plexuses can be
Yeah.
absolute nightmares, just like shitting emotion everywhere and projection
Mhm.
everywhere and whatever. But then like the open solar plexus absorbing and identifying. But when there's awareness of like, I know this isn't mine, but I can feel it and I can help unpack that if it's needed, or I can transmute that, or I can like wait for that person. I can understand it defined again. Like I can understand how I might be making someone feel right now. And so, it's just beautiful when you can feel it. I mean, one of the biggest transformations for me was like the whole don't go to bed angry. Actually, me and Ben will go to bed angry now because he's defined too, and we both have a tribal wave. So it's like we trigger each other and we don't resolve it in the moment. We need a moment and we'll just like not speak or we'll go to bed. And in the morning, we're just like, ah, like it never actually, it literally just doesn't even, it's gone. And
So funny.
I'd be like, you need to spend, and it would just amplify because we're just two defined centers, like bouncing emotion off of each other. There's no solution in that moment. And the energy's too intense.
Yeah.
And it,
Yeah, that's so true. Again, because if you force confrontation on someone who's on their wave, like it's not respecting the wave.
no.
And that's the thing is like we can force confrontation on ourselves if we're, not self-mind taking in this idea of like, no, don't go to bed angry. That's like classic relationship 101 lingo. Um, but actually that can really hurt you if you're not aware of how your mechanics operate.
Yeah. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. So what for you, switching gears and going back to your trip, like that was like a big family time, right? It was mostly like you, your mom, your sister. Having now had a lot shifting in your internal world and again just getting deeper and deeper in your own deconditioning, were there any really big just like ahas for you going back to a very familiar old environment, again attached to an older identity and version of you, and witnessing a little bit of that energy that you were raised around and how that may have impacted you?
Yeah, across the board, not even just family, like with friends and stuff too. So it was quite interesting because I spent a lot of time with my mum. My mum had just had a surgery. So the whole intention really, I wasn't even meant to come home, but I was like, I'm going to come back to England for a couple of weeks. She was pretty much like in the main element of healing at that point. So it wasn't as intense, but she was recovering quite a while and it was quite intense for her. Um, so I came home, spent a little bit of time with her, saw some friends that were old, and then I also saw some friends from Bali. And so like that kind of newer identity. So there's a real merge and like I've had some time to be aware and like observe that. And it has been really interesting. So I'll start with my mum and I'll go through to like kind of some things I noticed. So when I first got here, um my mum was quite in the emotions and also like she had a hysterectomy. And so hormonally there's a massive shift here. And I noticed in myself, and again, like I've still, after observing this, I think there's a lot about me where I was like almost recognizing my old self in it and projecting and like rejecting, and then not being what my mom needed either, because I was like almost, like the spiritual high horse you can get on where you're like, I'm aware and like you're just
Mm-hmm.
there. And like this came up in me actually, this like sense of almost like ego-y entitlement. So my mom was struggling a little bit, and I think because I'd come home, she didn't really want to acknowledge that as much. She was trying to be as like on it as she could. But a few things would come through, which is a trait I carry and trait we all carry, all of us in the family, which is kind of like this, we can be a bit nitpicky. And so we don't directly, this is like tribal emotional wave to a T, the ratchet, right? Like we don't say it. And then it builds and it builds and it's like, oh, they've not been considerate. They've not been this. They've not been, and it's all in here and in here. And so it builds and it builds, and then all of a sudden something will come out. And so what I saw happening, this was the first week when I just spent solely a whole week with my mom. And the first week was, I think, in my mum's perspective, things were building because I was being insensitive from her lens, right? Now, it's funny because I had the jaw break. And when I had the jaw break, because I was alone and I didn't have family around me, I didn't have support, I went into survival. And you know me, I'm very much strong survival warrior mentality. I struggle to ask for help. And I struggle to share what I'm really feeling and the vulnerability and to ask. And so I went into default, like, get on with it. You'll be okay. I was like, come on, we're over it now. Get on with it. You can walk now. Let's go for a walk. Let's da 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 da. And I think what she really needed was for me to come home and just be like, are you good? Are you okay? Oh my God, I've got you. And I think almost on reflection, like I couldn't give her that because I didn't get that. So it was almost like this,
Yeah.
you can't have that because I didn't have that. So you need to know how I felt and like you need to now get on with it because I had to. And so, yeah, it was really hard for me to like stand back and like feel that afterwards. I was really like, I'm getting emotional saying it because I was like, oof, that's on me, you know? Um, so that was on her part, right? Now, on the other part, I was feeling this like, you're being indirect, you're complaining, and then
Mhm.
she'd like say things and I'd be like, ugh, and like dismiss it. And so all these kind of like family triggers of like things in my childhood where maybe they triggered me, those were building up for me. So I think she's also tribal emotional. So there's two ratchets being built right now, one on her side, one on my side. And it literally the first week exploded. Like she'd sat down and said this, it was the trigger, which it always is, so irrelevant, right? It was like something she'd said about someone. And I was like, you don't need to be so negative. Basically, that was my like, like I'm out. And then it just, everything exploded. We had this kind of row of like, you're this, no, you're that. And like, the one thing I say to my mom is like, you're negative. And the one thing she says back to me is like, I would have thought you were more aware given the work you do, you know? And so we're like, oh, like, let's just dig it into the wounds, and we're so
Um,
alike too. So it's like a mirror, both Taurus, there's so much similar energy here. And so yeah, we had that kind of ratchet and it happened as I was going to my dad's house. So I left and we left on a like high wave, right? And I was like, I'm just going. I'm going. And we didn't speak. She sent me a message and then like told me not to reply to it. We didn't speak. And then when we got home, actually, we didn't really have a conversation about it. But I think the reflection and the introspection, like from that moment on, we actually were able to anchor in and like really have a lot more compassion for each other. And I think what this trip has been, especially even with my sister, like we went to Montenegro and there's three of us, again, all Taurus, all very similar, all trigger each other massively. And my sister said something really valuable that I was like, yeah, you're so right. She was like, it's funny, like the people that we love the most, like we're also the nastiest too at times. And I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, because there's no real energetic, like, there's not that same wall that you have with friends where, depending on how close you get to a friend, it's the same with partners, like the full unfiltered self comes out, right? So there were little moments where I could see my conditioning clear as day. I could see the why certain people were triggering me from how we used to be when we were all together. And it was like mirrors of when we used to be all together as children and as a family. And then also these pieces where like our self-awareness were coming in and like these newer versions of us were coming in. And there was definitely clashy moments where, especially me being a business owner, that one's a big one when I'm at home where it's like, come off your phone. And I'm like, bro, I've got to be on my phone. Like, I'm not on it all the time, but I have to step away and answer a client right now. I have to, like, I'm on all the time. Like, whether I like it or not, I've got boundaries, but like, I have to pick my phone up right now. That's what allows me to be here in this country. And so, like, having to take a breather and be able to explain that instead of attack that, that was a big one of like, here's how to understand me and let me understand that you don't understand that. And I think the one thing that I grilled into my head this time was like, she's just a girl too. She's just figuring it out too. My whole family are just figuring it out too. And like the awareness is a gift when you can observe like they're just honestly like doing their best as well with
Yeah.
what they've got. And a few things my mum had said, because I asked her like about her birth journey with me and stuff like that. And she was like, I'm a lot like my parents. And we went into that kind of thing. And that conditioning, it runs so deep, like we'll always carry these traits. And I think this trip has been like respecting the traits that I carry, choosing what I want to shift and learn from, but also like having compassion and not being so like, I'm better than you guys now because I have the self-awareness tools. Doesn't make me better, you know?
No, no. But again, kudos for you for like being able to also take like bring the lamplight back onto you and to see that within yourself. And I mean, to me, that's that ability to like take accountability to me is like the highest form of like spiritual.
Mm.
I can't think of the word. You know what I mean though? Like that is it's more than like just being happy, peaceful zen all the time. It's like, I'm a human. I'm also a mess by default. And I'm also willing to look at myself and continue to evolve and do the messy stuff, not dance around the uncomfortable because there's nothing worse than that like spiritual archetype that has just gotten really good at gaslighting, but using like the right conscious language to do so. Like, oh,
You know what? Also, what's really actually quite funny. So there was a few things that came up because I do think, and you're right. I think I've been through a bit of a journey lately where I've gone from like, because I was super spiritual at some point where everything like you can't do that and you can't eat that and you have to do this, and it became like the cloak and the costume I put on versus like the actual integration and embodiment of like what is someone who, and I don't even like to use the word spiritual. It's just like aware and
yeah,
embodied, I
aware.
think, would be more of
Exactly.
the terminology. But one thing my mum and my sister were joking about, and it was quite funny because I was like, you know what, now I've passed this enough that like I agree with you. They were like, do you remember that time Bee joined a cult? And I was like, what? And it was like I went to live in La Palma for a month, like just when I started my Enagic business, and I was staying in this like conscious community, this like nude conscious community. There was a lot of beautiful things in it, but like when I look back, like I escaped it, and then it like went weird when I left. And like weird. And they were like, do you remember when Bee joined that cult? She was like, honestly, I was about to send your father to come and get you. Like it was weird. But like it made me laugh because imagine how they felt knowing me, knowing my character also. Like obviously I've always been a bit of a like rebellious, what the hell spirit. They're like, oh God, like what is she okay? And thank God I've got parents that like for the most part they've been supportive of this. They really have. They've questioned me, but they've been supportive. But my mum was like, that was one of the main times that I thought, hold on. And it's interesting because I have the conditioner trajectory, right? But the transference of conditioner is conditioned. And I really
Yeah.
feel like that was me for the first, like just before my Saturn return, like my life until about
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, so that's trajectory, and that's what's really cool about trajectory as it relates to again our mind and how we think, because it's like it's almost as if there's a train, and at some point in time you start on the train going in one direction, and then as you decondition, as you go through your path, there's a switch and it
Yeah.
switches rail lines. And that's when it steps into like, and it's funny because Ra is, he has desire motivation like me, but he's opposite. So he's strategic. And his trajectory is to go from the follower to the leader. And the way that he describes it is like he was a follower his whole life and a follower to his just not self mind. His switch moment came like a lightning bolt, and it was his download, the whole experience with the voice, and all of a sudden boom, he gets catapulted into leader. And it can happen very quickly, it can happen very slowly, but it's like the train track, and it's never guaranteed. Also, this is the thing that's like so important for all of us to understand. It's like we have potentials, but we're not guaranteed to get there unless we are deconditioned enough. And if we stop giving our mind permission to make our decisions, because if our mind is making the decisions, because that's the other thing, our motivation, our trajectory, all of that, that's mind. And if we are bogged down in our mind by controlling outcomes, making the decisions that we think are right, like inhabiting these identities that aren't our own, we there's it's like your mind's in overdrive. You're never gonna get on your trajectory. You never get on your trajectory, you're never accessing your cognition, your deeper intelligence that's available for you.
100%. And I think this has been the shift lately with me wanting to like share a different type of content. I think I'm stepping into that conditioner where I'm like, I have to call things out because I have to call out where you're all being conditioned still. It happened with network marketing too. I was like, I can see this. And it's happening with the coaching industry where I'm like, I can see this and I can't continue until I call this out because it's not okay. It's honestly like really, really weird at this point that we're not seeing this.
Yeah.
Can we wake up, please? And that's
Yeah.
it now. I'm like, let me be the conditioner, but like almost I'm not conditioning you. I'm like helping you decondition by
Yeah.
deconditioning myself.
It's the
Like
necessary conditioning, like, again, because it's inevitable. You can never escape conditioning. So the way I see it is it's necessary conditioning in the sense that like you're creating the friction
yeah,
that's going to be needed to like shine the mirror up to people for them to start looking at themselves and then doing the work to step out of the environments that have been keeping them stuck in negative conditioning.
yeah,
Right? There's positive conditioning and negative conditioning, and the conditioning will never go away, so it has to be there.
yeah. And like this, that I think that's what this trip has been. It's been like observing where that all still lies. And like on the friends part, what was really interesting was I saw most of my friends like for a day. Like it was really short and sweet, but I saw Paige and Holly, and like that was really just like beautifully in like lovely. Like we all wanted to do the same thing, and like, you know, there's that like really common ground. And then there was a few times where I went out and like I drank too much and I got myself to a point where I like partied like I used to, which in a way I was like, cool. I got a taste of how that feels, but like I hated myself the next day. I didn't feel good.
Mhm.
The way I describe when I get to that point where like I'm really hungover and like I black out basically. Like it's not a dangerous blackout, but I do black out. And that happened and I woke up in the morning and it takes me about 4 days where I feel like my spirit has been ripped out of my body. And it's the most awful feeling for me because I feel so unanchored, so disconnected to my spirit and my essence. And then I also feel really open to like whatever the hell is also circulating me because I'm such a strong light. So that also opens me up to like really shitty negative energy. And so that was a big one where I'm like, I don't like this anymore. I don't. And like, it's a part of me that for a long, long time was an escape mechanism of like, let me just numb, let me just turn it off. And like, I had a great night, but I don't remember half of it. So did I have a great, like, you know what I mean? And I just like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to play in that realm anymore. And that gave me a lot of clarity too. And I like shame comes up when I experience that. And I'm like, no, like, don't feel shame, just learn.
Yeah.
Just learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was,
Because
yeah,
it's
it was,
at the end of the day, it's all information.
yeah.
But I can relate to that as well. I mean, I know for me, I think the last time I had that was our launch party when we
That,
launched
that's a big
the
night.
predecessor to Aligned, which was the Human Design Lab. And let me tell you, it was a banger of a party.
Yeah.
Everybody went for it, but I was so hungover the next day. It was just like, okay, slam to the ground. And again, a lot of like old shame. It brought up all the other times in my life that like I also pushed the limits and like pushed my body too far. And yeah, but then I looked at it and I was like, you know what? No, I can be really grateful for this experience and the connections that I had. And also, like, I can choose differently. And I have not drank since then, really.
No?
Well, I had a birthday. It was my birthday a few weeks after. And I think that was the last night that I like had a big like night of drinking with friends. And since then, I have not, besides maybe one glass of wine,
Here or
maybe
there.
twice since then. And it's been almost a year and
2
a
years?
half, two
Yeah.
years,
Yeah, I
two
think
and a
so.
half years.
About 2 years, I think. Because it was, when was it? Like Marchish? So yeah, it'll be like 2 years. But yeah, and this is it. It's like all these, and the identities that comes with these pieces. So yeah, it was definitely a, like, what do I like? What do I value? Who am I now? Kind of thing. And it was really nice. And then when I landed home, it was almost like I said to Ben, I was like, I've been sleeping a lot, like I've been napping a lot. I've been wanting to sleep in a lot. And I feel like I'm just like integrating. And then so many ideas are coming through me. And it's just an ode also to like how beneficial taking space sometimes can be. Because I took a month off creating completely. I only posted on my stories and stuff when I wanted to. I only served the clients already in my world. And I just also trusted. I was like, I'm not going to sell right now. I'm just going to lean back. And the most aligned opportunities were coming in just like through people I already knew and wanting to work with me. And it was like, oof, like, yeah. And I think it's really, I don't know, like the word I use to describe how I feel coming back is like, I'm really relaxed about things. I'm just like,
Mm,
I have enough evidence. Like I had some scarcity come up yesterday, again, for no reason really, other than I think it's just coming up to be let go. And I
yeah.
was just like, I see you. All right. I understand why you're here. And also, everything's always fine. So, like, we're not going to play with that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. I want to go back also to what you shared earlier about the boundaries around like your work when you were back home and having to explain, like, because that's something I've also now been experiencing because for more or less like the last 2 months when I was in Puerto Rico, all I was doing was working because I felt so disconnected from everything within that environment. And I was just kind of like hermiting and just working. And I don't think I was ever really honest with myself as to like how much I was actually doing because it was really easy to be like, oh, I'm very relaxed and I take breaks and I go for walks and I'm like everything's so mellow because my environment was so mellow and I had full reign over my schedule and all of these things. But now like being here, sharing a space with someone, it's that mirror always and I'm having to see myself and like see how I've been operating in such a different way. And the phone thing is such a tricky one, and one thing that again, he has reflected back to me that like has been a trigger is because I've always been someone who like I'm very, and maybe it's just like my receptive mind, like I can hold so much in my mind. I don't really write things down. I've never had to be really like structured because it's like I remember things and I basically do at a lot of times have tons of tabs open in my
That's
mind,
incredible.
but I can just like pull from it. However, what I'm noticing is how I've been in a really dysregulated state with it here because I don't have any boundaries around my business because I haven't had to up until now, in the sense that like I don't block my time to say like in this week there's certain things I want to get done and therefore like okay, I need 2 full days in which I can do them.
Yeah, I
Right?
get
And so it's like that dilemma of being an entrepreneur where on one end like we're so drawn to this because of the freedom within our schedules, but at the same time, there's the trap of like, but you then have to create structure if you need structure. And I'm realizing like I've allowed myself to get really comfortable on this idea of like, oh, but I'm, quad right. I don't need structure. I go with the flow, all of that. But also acknowledging like a business is a separate entity
yeah.
and my business needs structure. And because my business doesn't have structure, I'm like pulling myself in so many different directions and all my tabs are getting muddled because I'm not only now just trying to like manage my business, I'm also managing a relationship. And when I'm around other people, I don't want to be on my phone. And so then when I am, I feel guilty and I feel pressured around it. So I try to kind of like speed things up. I don't do what I want to do. I let messages kind of sit because I say, I'll do it when I have some time to myself.
Yeah.
But then I'm not having as much time to myself because I'm not carving it out because I'm not used to like planning my schedules in a way that's like as intentional as that. So it's been a really interesting like uncomfy period where it's like I haven't been working much for the last few weeks and there are things that I've been wanting to do but haven't created the time for, so I feel like this like backlog, and because there's the backlog, I'm just wasting energy because there's always something you can be doing but you're doing so many things but you're not doing anything well, and it's been really nice again to have someone reflecting this back to me, which can be triggering at first because I'm like, but I have to be on my phone at certain times or whatever. I don't have to be on it in the way that I have been on it, where it's just, again, like trying to sneak in stuff in all these like little moments, which takes away from being in the experience that you are having. And it's tough.
It is. It really is. I've had a similar one where I realize I don't need to be working as much. It's like the flip side of the coin. I feel like we need to like swap brains for a day sometimes
Yeah.
and just like be in each other's brains and be like, oh, that's how I could do it. I can have more flow. And you can be like, oh, here's how to bring in more structure. But
Yeah.
oh, I'd love that. But I always say that about projectors. Like, I'd love a day in a projector's body, just to feel it. You know, if you were in my body today, your hair would be like sticking up, like so manic. Like, but yeah, I feel you. And this was actually what I realized having so much time off in Montenegro and stuff. Like Montenegro, I pretty much was off except from like two calls, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
work at all. And I was like, the ship still sails. Like, and I find busy work. I'm like, let me just do
Yeah.
that again. And like, I
Yeah.
have to be working. Whereas like I actually struggle to step back. And like Ben will be like, do you want to do something? And I'm like, oh, I'm like, I don't really need to be doing this. Even when I'm launching, I noticed this. I was like, I've equated launching to be like, you've got to work every day for 30 days and post every day for 30 days. You don't. No, you don't. You know, like you get it done. But then, yeah, like having that structure in place of just like having something where it's like, these are the tasks that I need to do. And
Yeah.
those could be like, that could be a 2 hour window in the morning for you. But then, like you said, if you're pulling yourself, then it becomes like
Yeah.
nudges towards it, but
Yeah.
you're never actually doing the whole thing.
And you know what it comes down to? Control.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I kind of see it is as we start these journeys of like, healing, of deconditioning, and we start to like let go of control over certain elements of our lives, and we pick up human design and it gives this framework of how to kind of surrender and give up control. But this is one of those sneaky ways in which I see like the not self mind sliding back in to
Yeah.
maintain control, because it's like it's this need to, again, in work, it's like, but I need to be working and I need to be doing more, because if I don't, then like I'm not going to control, right? It's like this panic inside of like keeping our hands and our grasp on things, which pulls us actually away. Because like what happens for you if you're working all the time? Well, then you're not out in life responding.
Well, exactly. And I'm not magnetic. And then I end up like secluded and drained and not living. And I said this to Ben because he was like, do you want to do a call tonight? I was like, I'm going to go to my friends because I can see that I'm starting to do that thing again where I work all day, every day, and I just seclude myself and like I'll just work. And like I need to go live. I need to keep up this like habit of living because that's when I receive the most. And also I'm like most magnetic to my ideas, like you said. And you put it perfectly then actually that was like a like ha moment for me of like, you're not responding. So then,
Yeah, it's like, and it's a form of self-sabotage, right? It's like the busyness is keeping us from living and being available for the experiences that like we're here to interact with.
yeah,
It's like we're cock blocking ourselves when we do it.
yeah, quite literally. Oof, yeah. Just let that one sink in. Yeah, it's been, I think, honestly, for me, I think it's going to be a bit of a lifelong vibe of just like learning how to balance, I think, for manifesting generators, and especially like with all the structure I have, it really is. But these trips really show me like you really don't need to be as on as you think. And actually, like you've created something that can run itself. Let it run itself. Again, control.
Yeah. Is there anything you are particularly excited about now, like being back and having a little bit of a new perspective? Is there something that you are looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the clarity that I'm leaving, and that was one thing I wanted to suss out going home. I was like, right, let me get a taste of a new the Western environment because I think that's overarchingly what it is. More structure and more different variations of nature, architecture. Sounds really ungrateful to say. I know you know this, but like Bali feels very same to me now. It's the same palm trees, it's the same wherever you go, and it just like isn't activating me anymore, isn't expanding me. Asia in general isn't. humidity in general isn't. And so that really gave me the clarity on like my body, my mind, my spirit, like the whole shebang doesn't thrive here anymore, and that's okay. And so my real anchor point right now is like having the gratitude. So not being like, because when I got back, I was like, ew, look at this, ew. And Ben was like, careful. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So now I'm like, amazing. I can spend this much money and get an amazing place. Amazing. I can go like go jack a fruit to my door if I want to. Fabulous. I won't have this, when I leave. I'll have different experiences. So there's the clarity of that. I'm also like really shifting the gear and my focus towards the plan of like leaving next year. And I'm just really excited. I just feel like it's time to really start using my voice in the way that like I've been feeling the pull to use it for a long time. And just like the real, even in like friendships, I'm having some really healthy conversations, and just everything just feels like it's getting a spring clean. But I think what I really want to take forward is this truth element of like being okay with speaking it out. And it's like what you text me the other day, and I read it to my friend, and I was like, what did you say? Like, just what was it? Just what did you say? You were like, just go full, like
Full send.
full send, like full. It was
It's
um
time. I was like, go full unhinged.
full
You got this.
unhinged, and like rip the band-aid off. It's scary. You'll see that nobody dies, nothing burns down, and your business still chugs along, and you're going to feel so much more free. And I was like, damn, like, yeah, like it's actually not going to be. And then I posted that day, I posted a post about it, and it fucking popped off. And I created so many amazing conversations off the back of that. And I was like, well, if that ain't confirmation of what speaking your truth can do, like, I don't know what is. And so that felt like a bit of a hug from
Yeah.
God, like,
Yeah.
you've got
And I
this.
see this as this like huge invitation, because again, it's like in the collective right now of like people
Yeah.
being called to share their voice and like be authentic. And I think you and I for almost years now have had almost this resistance around the online space and how we share and how people are sharing, because we're so aware of inauthenticity. And at the same time, like I know for you, there's been something holding you back from just like being fully you in how
Saying,
you share. And I'm telling you, because I'm excited for you. I'm like, yes, like just do it, because I want to see more of that
yeah,
in the online space. And I just know that again, it's just it's the cycle shift.
yeah,
It's the end of the cross of planning, and this is the frequency that's going to move. It's the only frequency that's going to be allowed to breathe.
yeah. And I think that's where you're seeing it a lot, like ripple out, because it's funny because I'd written it down, and then there's like someone who's literally said the exact same thing in there through their lens, and then another person. And it's like, I love that theory of, we're all receiving the same downloads, and then we just feed it through our perspective. And so um we're all like the ones that are meant to almost like steward this
Yeah.
space right now. We're
Yeah.
waking up to it almost a little bit earlier, like it's like, okay, come on, you guys, like you need to start. And then that also like nudges the rest to wake up.
Yeah.
And
Because
there's always that.
it's not going to be about education anymore.
Yeah,
Again, like with AI and all of that, there's no point in trying to educate or to like do things the way we've been doing them. The only way forward is like you've just got to find, because everything has been done before.
yeah,
And that's okay, but no one has like your unique perspective, your way of structuring and articulating, your way of conditioning, right? Your energy and view and perspective. And that's where I think human design can be such a guiding light, in just being able to say like, oh wow, like I have this whole design and have this completely unique blueprint and way in which I'm interacting with the world. And so it's okay if everyone's already done this before, or if like, whatever the narratives we might have in our mind, it's like no one sees things in the way that you see them.
yeah,
No one communicates in the way that you communicate.
yeah, yeah. So that's what's alive. Just truth, just raw, like no more has to look this way and it has to be just pure and raw, and just like continuing to lean into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's good to have these conversations, and it's also good to see like the wave that's happening. Because I mean, it's like one of those. What do I describe it like? You know, when you like something's about to burst and the pressure is like, and then it's like, that's almost how I feel like the industry is right now, like the online space. It's got to this point where it's just like it's fit to burst, and it's just like we can't keep going on this way, and so like it has to shift. I've actually recorded a video that's like really edgy for me. I'm going to post it tomorrow. But I go deeper into this, but I like really deep into this. And I'm like, oh, but I'm also like, you gotta
Yeah.
do it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm already
Exactly.
calling it, and like the people that really align with it, you know. So
Yeah. I really believe the more polarizing we can be, because the more it's like the more we're so anchored into our truth, again, there's just like there's such a frequency and a vibration to it. Yes, you're going
absolutely,
to ruffle feathers, and the feathers that are going to be ruffled are not the feathers that you want to have around, or they're going to be people whose feathers needed to be ruffled, and there's going to be a huge like ripple effect to that, but it clears out space for like the right people to come in.
it does. I mean, God, all my mentors, every single mentor that I've ever hired, I've unfollowed at one point because they triggered me and they made me see things, and they made me see where I wasn't, you know, doing what I wanted to do, or what I wasn't seeing. And so I was like, before I was like, here's thousands of dollars of my money, I was like, fuck you. Or I was jealous. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's because they hold codes, you know? So let me actually go learn from these people.
Yeah.
On the flip side, like there have been people where I'm like, it, I don't know, like I felt that conditioning of like, oh, I should be great. I should be in these. And then I'm like, oh God, no, like that ain't
Mm-hmm.
that. And this is what I'm starting to speak about. Like that ain't it. This idolizing. No, I mean that's good. I reckon that needs to be a whole podcast once that's integrated a little bit more. I could get on and do a little piece on that. But yeah, leave it there.
Mm. Well, I think we covered some good stuff today.
Thank you for guiding me through before the episode. I was like, Erin, I do like it's not alive for me anymore, these themes. So you need to like prompt me, and you always do an amazing job at that.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for listening. Another one of these just unplanned little chit chats. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Hey.